She stabbed her boyfriend in the eye with needles because he was looking at other women. So this happened in Florida, where 44-year-old Sandra Jimenez lost it after her and her boyfriend of 8 years were arguing about him looking at other women. But on this specific Saturday night, when the couple arrived home, Sandra attacked him when he went to lay down. She allegedly jumped on top of him with 2 syringes in her hand and jabbed him in the eye. And apparently these needles were meant to vaccinate their dogs against rabies. Sandra was then found sleeping in her car and was arrested and charged with felony aggravated battery. Can we start normalizing breaking up with our partners instead of trying to kill them?
Dangerous toys kids used to play with every day in the past. In the 1950s, kids could buy a science kit that came with actual radioactive uranium. While marketed for educational purposes, it exposed children to radiation, making it one of the most dangerous toys ever sold. This toy let kids make rubber bugs by heating liquid plastic in a mini oven that reached 390 degrees Fahrenheit. Many children suffered severe burns, and the fumes were later found to be unsafe. Lawn darts were a popular outdoor game, but they had sharp metal tips that could pierce the skull. Tragically, several children were seriously injured, and after multiple deaths, they were finally banned in 1988. This 1996 doll could eat plastic snacks, but it couldn't tell the difference between food and fingers with no off switch. It led to scary accidents where kids' fingers and hair got stuck in its powerful jaws.
What your zodiac sign says about your personality. If you're a Virgo, you're a very nice person. A lot of people like you and you have a lot of feelings. You're also very easy to talk to, which is why everyone likes you. So if you're a Virgo, you're a legend. If you're a Leo, you're apparently a very annoying person. You're extremely energetic and love to scream and make noise for no apparent reason. If you're a Scorpio, you're a fighter, you're an extremely strong person and a lot of people like you. And if you're a Capricorn, you're a very calm and generic person. Where some people might say you're boring, other people say you're extremely good to be around and love you to bits.
This is everything we know about the David situation compiled into one video. So the music video for his song Romantic Homicide was posted on the birthday of the girl that was found in his car. Which, speaking of that girl and his music videos, he has used a girl in his videos that looks suspiciously similar to the girl that was found in his car. David also has a leaked song called Celeste where he talks about being obsessed with the girl called Celeste. The girl found in David's Tesla was named, you guessed it, Celeste. There are also different photos that are released of David in person with this Celeste girl, you know, the one that was found in his car. The mom of the Celeste girl said that she was dating a guy named David before she went missing. David and the girl that was found in his car both share a matching tattoo on the same finger. There are also pictures coming out allegedly showing David paying people off to not talk about the fact that he is into younger girls. There's also the fact that the lyrics of Romantic Homicide, one of his most popular songs, kind of eerily mirror the situation that he's in now. Now, the only defense that David really had that he didn't do this was the fact that he's on tour. But the more evidence that comes out, the more that alibi kind of falls apart.
This 10-year-old ended his mother's life because she wouldn't buy him a VR headset. 10-year-old Noah Mann Tate lived with his mother Kiana Mann in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Noah really wanted a virtual reality headset, and when he asked his mother if he could get one, she told him no. Once Noah was told no, he became enraged and came up with a sinister plan. On the morning of November 21st of 2022, Noah allegedly retrieved a handgun from the house and hid it in his nightstand. He waited until Kiana was doing laundry, shot her in the face, and ended her life instantly. Instead of calling for help, Noah went online, used his mother's credit card, and ordered that VR headset. That same morning, he also attacked his 7-year-old cousin, adding to family fears about his violent behavior. Noah was interviewed by investigators, and he stated that it was an accident, that he was just twirling the gun trying to scare her. But later, he ended up admitting that he aimed directly at his mom. Relatives revealed that Noah had troubling behavior. He had rage issues, he would roam the house at night, he spoke of imaginary people, and he once tried to start a fire with a balloon with flammable liquid. A state psychologist found signs of mild anxiety and psychotic symptoms, but stated that he was competent for trial. Even though Noah was only 10 years old, Wisconsin law states that homicide cases just like this need to start in an adult court. If he is convicted of first-degree intentional homicide, he could face up to 60 years in prison.
Let me tell you about some crazy history that they didn't teach you in school. Bill Morgan was an Australian truck driver who was clinically dead for 14 minutes and spent 12 days in a coma back in the 90s. After he made his full recovery, he bought a scratch-off ticket to celebrate and won a car. During a TV reenactment of that win, he scratched another ticket live on camera and won $250,000. Bro, he wasn't meant to die yet. Is he selling a course on how to get as much luck as he did? Joe Biden was born closer to Abraham Lincoln's second inauguration as president than his own inauguration as president. A German Jewish news photographer faked a broken arm so that he could sneak a camera into his cast to take a picture of the US Supreme Court in session back in 1932, which is one of the only photos of that kind. There was a few months in the early 70s where you could see through the Twin Towers because it hadn't been fully built yet, and you could see the core structure right there in the middle.
This has got to be the scariest dog I've ever seen in my life. So this lady has been posting videos of her dog Lita to social media. And in these videos, Lita looks uncanny, to put it in the nicest way possible. Now, according to the lady, the reason Lita looks like this is because she has been through a lot. Now, she doesn't describe what a lot is, but I assume it is to hell and back. And so does everyone else in all the comments of the lady's videos, as people seem to be terrified of Lita.
How long you can survive without one of your organs, without one kidney. Your entire life. Without the nose. 65 years. Without the stomach. 5 years. Without the mouth. 3 days. Without the heart. 10 minutes. Without the bones. 8 minutes. Without the brain. 6 minutes. Without the lungs. 5 minutes. Without the skin. 30 seconds. Without your phone. 0 seconds.
Turns out the singer David was diddling minors, and the girl found in his Tesla trunk was his underage dead girlfriend. He even had an unreleased song named after her called Celeste. It had matching tattoos that said shh on them with dots. And one time she was even on the stream and he kind of quietly shoot her away off camera. It was pretty weird. Now he is in hot trouble. He has canceled all his remaining tour dates, and now the investigation is getting heated. I feel like his lawyer is watching all the TikToks and all the stuff stack up with the evidence and sweating right now. Mind you, the girl was Celeste Rivera. She was 15 years old and she was reported missing a whole year ago. I'm just wondering how long she was in that trunk for, and also her family made comments on this. They knew she had a boyfriend named David. I don't think they knew that this guy was like a 20-year-old singer. Investigators are treating her death like a homicide right now and investigating it like a homicide. A cause of death has not been announced though. Her family has not really made any comments regarding her death yet though. The story keeps changing because when I made the video a couple weeks ago or a week ago originally, they said the body wasn't that decomposed, it was slightly decomposed. Now they're saying it's severely decomposed. So it was probably in that trunk for many months. People are also saying that he released a song every single year on her birthday. And it is very odd with that unreleased song titled after her first name. Listen, if all these findings are just coincidental, that would be absolutely insane in his case. His sponsors have been dropping him like flies after the body was found and people are starting to connect the dots. What is going on with everyone these days? Why is everyone diddling minors, dude? Also, the Epstein files, they haven't even released that yet. But, I'll keep you guys updated as this unfolds. This seems like it's going to be a huge case right now. I am actually very eager to see what they find next. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. This 95-year-old just beat her roommate to death in the nursing home. She is not a sweet old lady. This happened at a nursing home in Brooklyn, New York. So apparently her roommate actually died by blunt force trauma. She literally smashed her head. On September 14th, that's when they found her dead. She was laying in bed with blood all over the place and gash marks and lacerations all over her head and neck. 95-year-old is being charged with second-degree murder and fourth-degree possession of a weapon. Also, they found the 95-year-old with a bloody hospital gown on, and she just had blood all over herself on her hands, legs, and everything, and she was washing herself off in a sink. So what weapon did this lady have? So she literally took the leg parts off of a wheelchair and beat this lady to death while she was in bed. It's the part that you rest your foot on in the wheelchair. That was covered in blood when they found it. News articles have been trying to reach out to this lady's lawyer, but the lawyer has not gotten back to anybody yet. I just want to know why exactly she killed the roommate. Like, what is going on? You're 95 years old and you're committing murder. Is this her first time? Is the plot deeper than this? We'll see. But seriously, like, your nursing home roommate, you just beat her to death with a wheelchair, like, foot stand? That's weird. Let me know your thoughts about this story, guys.
A pedophile and registered sex offender was invited by President Donald Trump to appear beside him and to help reestablish a fitness test for children. I mean, you just can't make this shit up. So this is Lawrence Taylor. He's a former linebacker for the New York Giants, and he's a very famous and infamous athlete. And he's also been a very vocal supporter of Donald Trump. So Lawrence was invited a few days ago to the White House to speak about the revitalization and reestablishment of the presidential fitness test for American children. Keep in mind, Trump was announcing during this conference the establishment of a Presidential Council on Sports, Fitness, and Nutrition initiative for kids. So Lawrence has been arrested a number of times. His first arrest was for crack possession, but his most infamous arrest was in 2010, when he was arrested and charged with rape. Now, this is from reporting at the time. They said he was charged Thursday in May of 2010 with rape for having sex with a 16-year-old runaway forced into prostitution by a man who had beaten her up, which is just comically deplorable. Lawrence ended up pleading guilty to sexual misconduct and patronizing a prostitute and was ordered to register as a sex offender. But over the years, he's been rearrested multiple times, once for DUI and also at points on charges for failing to register as a sex offender. Keep in mind, his victim was 16 years old. And now, out of all athletes in America, we have him, asked by him, to be on a council for sports, nutrition, and fitness for children in America. I mean, you really just cannot make this stuff up, and I'm at a loss for words with so many of these news stories. I make these videos all the time trying to raise awareness about the massive problem that we have with child abuse, not only just here in America, but across the planet. But at this point, you're clearly seeing what I've been talking about happening in real time, where you have a registered sex offender whose victim was 16 years old standing at a podium in the White House, basically being assigned to involve himself with the affairs of children. Once again, I'm just at a loss for words. I'm going to continue making these videos, though, and raising awareness around these issues, because hopefully one day in the future, we will not be appointing people to positions or asking them to involve themselves in councils when they are registered sex offenders whose victims were 16 years old, who are being asked to participate in councils on issues related to children.
Here's some crazy history that they didn't teach you in school. This picture shows a list of proposed amendments that never passed. In 1876, there was an attempt to abolish the United States Senate. Just overall. Also, the forbidding of religious leaders from occupying a governmental office. Dang, what was going on at that point? In 1893, we tried to rename the nation the United States of Earth. Bold choice. The same year, tried to abolish the United States Army and Navy. That definitely went the opposite way it was gonna go. 1914, finding divorce to be illegal. Why are we attempting all this stuff? Anyone who votes for yes to go to war in a national vote has to register as a volunteer for service in the army. Wow. An attempt to limit personal wealth to $1 million. Interesting that it was in 1933 with the Great Depression. Probably somewhat popular today. Except maybe $1 billion is the number now instead of $1 million. Should people be allowed to have over $1 billion? Is this 1933? In 2033, are we going to get this brought back up 100 years later? Just 14 years after trying to limit that personal wealth to $1 million, they tried to not allow income tax over 25%. Wow, that flipped very fast. And in 1971, American citizens should have the alienable right to an environment free of pollution. Whoops.
Creepy last words people said right before dying. Registered nurse Shirley Smith said that she had a very rich patient who was a true Satanist that was dying of cancer. The patient had upside-down crosses and a Satan's Bible by her bedside. Shirley said that she will never forget what happened. It was the middle of the summer, and yet it was so cold and dark in her room that you couldn't even stand it, even in the middle of the day. She said that it got so evil feeling in there that she had to call a priest to pray with her and her aides before they would even enter the room. When the patient passed away, she had not spoken in over 24 hours. And then all of the sudden, she sat straight up and said, "Satan, take me." And then she fell back on the bed. Shirley said that after she passed, the room got bright and extremely warm. Shockingly, when they moved the patient's body, they had to get rid of the mattress because where her body had been, it looked burnt. And the most horrible smell was emanating from the mattress cover. Needless to say, Shirley went to confession immediately because she did not want an evil spirit around her. A nurse said that one of their patients had a serious recurrence and had to be admitted. Over the course of several nights, he had become quite upset during rounds. He kept asking for his wallet, saying that he had to pay the ferryman. The medical student on rotation in the department took a quarter out of his pocket and put it in the patient's hand. The patient then dropped the coin into the cup on his bedstand and calmed down. Later that night, he passed away quietly. The nurse asked what happened. The medical student, who remembered his Greek mythology, said that the patient had to pay Charon, the ferryman, to be taken across the river Styx. A nurse said that he was doing rounds at a hospital. There was one two-patient room, and one of the patients was a very loud and confused woman who could be quite a handful. On this particular night, she had a roommate who had passed away shortly before the nurse entered the room. She was DNR, so there was no code blue. When he entered the room, he noticed that the elderly lady, who was usually very loud and confused, was sitting quietly with her hands crossed neatly upon her lap. Something was different, and there was this look of serenity on her face. She asked him in a voice that seemed much younger and clearer than before, "Did you see them, young man? They're so beautiful." He said, "No, ma'am, there's no one else here." She said, "They're right next to you, talking to Mrs. Banneker. The angels. They're so beautiful." He said that he instantly felt every hair of his body stand up, and an electric tingle course up and down his spine. "They're not here for me this time," she said sadly.
Well, too bad, because negative energy is the only thing that's in this movie. If you come on here and you claim no negative energy, I'm sorry, because the negative energy is going to get you, and it's relentless. Dramatica pops into theaters on the 12th of September, and you're not going to want to miss this one. It's All Hallows Cleve. Like and follow for your daily dose of horror content. I got to see Dramatica before it hit the theaters, and you know what? This was a lot more different than I thought it was going to be. I guess I really should have paid attention more to the actual title, because this entire thing is filled with trauma and negative energy. It really makes you think, what happens to the survivors after psychological torment from a demon that feeds off of negative energy? The movie itself is a little bit of a mixed bag. Some things worked, some things didn't, but I was surprised about a handful of things that the movie did actually accomplish. This is one of the first movies that I've seen in quite a while that does have the demon possession. It does have all that same stuff that we're kind of used to seeing in movies, but it takes that and kind of actually does something different with it. You get to see the torment of what all these people that are dealing with this demon actually are going through, possessed and not possessed. And honestly, the trailer fools you in exactly the direction the movie is going to go. It is a very solid, scary movie. And for some of you, it might just scare the ever-living crap out of you. Kicks off like a rocket, and it doesn't stop either. From the very beginning of the movie, it will not give you a second to breathe. So good luck watching Dramatica in theaters on September 12th.
A pedophile and registered sex offender was invited by President Donald Trump to appear beside him and to help reestablish a fitness test for children. I mean, you just can't make this shit up. So this is Lawrence Taylor. He's a former linebacker for the New York Giants, and he's a very famous and infamous athlete. And he's also been a very vocal supporter of Donald Trump. So Lawrence was invited a few days ago to the White House to speak about the revitalization and reestablishment of the presidential fitness test for American children. Keep in mind, Trump was announcing during this conference the establishment of a Presidential Council on Sports, Fitness, and Nutrition initiative for kids. So Lawrence has been arrested a number of times. His first arrest was for crack possession, but his most infamous arrest was in 2010, when he was arrested and charged with rape. Now, this is from reporting at the time. They said he was charged Thursday in May of 2010 with rape for having sex with a 16-year-old runaway forced into prostitution by a man who had beaten her up, which is just comically deplorable. Lawrence ended up pleading guilty to sexual misconduct and patronizing a prostitute and was ordered to register as a sex offender. But over the years, he's been rearrested multiple times, once for DUI and also at points on charges for failing to register as a sex offender. Keep in mind his victim was 16 years old. And now, out of all athletes in America, we have him, asked by him, to be on a council for sports, nutrition, and fitness for children in America. I mean, you really just cannot make this stuff up, and I'm at a loss for words with so many of these news stories. I make these videos all the time trying to raise awareness about the massive problem that we have with child abuse, not only just here in America, but across the planet. But at this point, you're clearly seeing what I've been talking about happening in real time, where you have a registered sex offender whose victim was 16 years old standing at a podium in the White House, basically being assigned to involve himself with the affairs of children. Once again, I'm just at a loss for words. I'm going to continue making these videos, though, and raising awareness around these issues, because hopefully one day in the future, we will not be appointing people to positions or asking them to involve themselves in councils when they are registered sex offenders whose victims were 16 years old, who are being asked to participate in councils on issues related to children.
The remains of a teenager missing for the last 7 years.
The boy you are looking at is one of the most eerie cases of all time. This is Joshua Maddox, an 18-year-old who was extremely quiet, very artistic, and loved playing the guitar. On May 8, 2008, Joshua told his sister that he was going to leave the house and go and take a walk. Joshua's family waited for him to return, but Joshua never came home. His family called the police, and the police created missing posters, put his name in the newspaper, and even searched the police database, but nothing was ever found on Joshua. Then 7 years later, a cabin found less than a mile from Joshua's home was set to be demolished, where they found something unusual in the chimney. Inside of this chimney was a body found in a fetal position crammed inside. The remains were so decomposed that it took DNA testing to confirm that this was in fact Joshua. Authorities claim that this was just an accident and Joshua took all of his clothes off and tried to get inside of this chimney to stay warm. But the thing that gets odd about this is Joshua's clothes were found next to him in a neatly folded position. Even creepier than that, a heavy metal grate was installed outside of the chimney, but it was installed from the inside. As far as for the person who owned the property, allegedly a man named Andy owned it, who was mentally unstable and had extremely violent tendencies, and after Joshua was reported missing, Andy just kind of took off. Despite all of this, the death was ruled accidental, but people to this day claim there had to have been some sort of foul play. This is one of those cases where I genuinely have no idea, because if we think about this from a reasonable standpoint, why would Joshua hop into this chimney, take all of his clothes off, and try and get warm when he could have easily just walked home? If you want to see more true crime stories, make sure to like and follow.
3 life hacks that simply everybody needs to know. Number 1, if you ever get a cut or a wound anywhere on your body, and yes, this might sound unbelievable, putting sugar on it will greatly reduce the pain and speed up the healing process. Number 2, just before you go to the gym or do a workout, if you eat an orange, it will prevent you from getting dehydrated, and it will also stop your muscles from being sore. And at number 3, if you're in the elevator and someone pushes all the buttons at once, don't worry. All you've got to do is press each button twice to avoid going to them floors. Once again, I hope all these tips help you out in the future, so take a minute to share all these life hacks with your friends.
Videos that have disturbing backstories. This is a picture of famous Mexican singer Chalino Sanchez. And at one of his shows in 1992, he received a very weird note. In the video, you can see Chalino reading the note and appearing to be very concerned. He wipes off his face and tries to gather himself as his band performs behind him. Chalino was famous for singing songs about criminal and cartel activity, and so it was very common for those kinds of people to go watch him sing. The music continued to play and Chalino began to sing the song. However, just 4 hours after this video was taken, Sanchez was found dead in a nearby river after being shot in the head, and many people believe that the note that he received in this video was a death threat from the cartel.
Well, too bad, because negative energy is the only thing that's in this movie. If you come on here and you claim no negative energy, I'm sorry, because the negative energy is going to get you, and it's relentless. Dramatica pops into theaters on the 12th of September, and you're not going to want to miss this one. It's All Hallows Cleve. Like and follow for your daily dose of horror content. I got to see Dramatica before it hit the theaters, and you know what? This was a lot more different than I thought it was going to be. I guess I really should have paid attention more to the actual title, because this entire thing is filled with trauma and negative energy. It really makes you think, what happens to the survivors after psychological torment from a demon that feeds off of negative energy? The movie itself is a little bit of a mixed bag. Some things worked, some things didn't, but I was surprised about a handful of things that the movie did actually accomplish. This is one of the first movies that I've seen in quite a while that does have the demon possession. It does have all that same stuff that we're kind of used to seeing in movies, but it takes that and kind of actually does something different with it. You get to see the torment of what all these people that are dealing with this demon actually are going through, possessed and not possessed. And honestly, the trailer fools you in exactly the direction the movie is going to go. It is a very solid, scary movie. And for some of you, it might just scare the ever-living crap out of you. Kicks off like a rocket, and it doesn't stop either. From the very beginning of the movie, it will not give you a second to breathe. So good luck watching Dramatica in theaters on September 12th.
Her father-in-law secretly kept hundreds of photos of her, and not long after, she disappeared without a trace. Susan Cox Powell was born on October 16th of 1981, and she was originally from Oregon before she moved to West Valley City, Utah with her husband and 2 sons. She was described as a loving mother, but her marriage to her husband Josh was troubled. He was controlling with money, unstable with jobs, and often erratic. Susan often confided to others that she was scared of him, and she had even drafted a secret will that said, "If I die, it may have not been an accident." On December 6 of 2009, the family attended church and she called a friend that evening. That would be the last time that anyone heard from her, and by December 7th, she was missing. When Josh spoke to police, he told them a bizarre story about how he took their sons camping in freezing weather after midnight and Susan just stayed home. Inside of the home, police found 2 box fans blowing on wet carpet. They also found Susan's purse, phone, and keys left behind. But nothing about Josh's story made any sense. Their youngest son, Charlie, later told investigators, "Mommy went camping with us, but she didn't come back." Even friends had reported that Susan was talking about leaving her husband, and investigators believed that there was probably an argument that night. The case quickly shifted, and Josh was the prime suspect. As detectives were digging deeper, they uncovered another disturbing figure, Josh's father, Stephen Powell. Stephen was secretly obsessed with Susan and kept hundreds of hidden photos and videos of her. Many were taken without her knowledge, and he also wrote explicit journals about his fantasies with her. Susan had told her friends that she was deeply uncomfortable with him, and he had even tried to make advances towards her. Although Stephen was never charged in Susan's disappearance, many believe that he knew more than he admitted. In 2012, Stephen was convicted of having inappropriate photos of children when police had raided his home. In 2011, Josh ended up losing custody of his sons due to evidence of abuse, and they were placed in the custody of Susan's parents. On February 5th of 2012, there was a supervised visit at Josh's home, but he ended up locking the social worker outside of his home. He then attacked his sons with a hatchet, set the house on fire, and Josh and his sons died in the explosion. The social worker called 911 after she smelled gas and heard screams from inside of the home, but once help had arrived, it was already too late. To this day, Susan's body has never been found. Investigators believe that Josh had ended Susan's life the night she disappeared and hid her remains in the Utah desert or abandoned mine shafts. Steve ended up dying in 2018 and never revealed what he knew. Susan's family continues to honor her and her sons, pushing for stronger protection for domestic violence victims.
So you've probably heard of the 27 Club, but you probably haven't heard of the real-life curse behind it. What if I told you that the first person who joined the 27 Club made a deal with the devil? And I only know about all this because of all the research I had to do for this week's episode on scary legends from the South. So Robert Johnson was one of the best blues musicians in the world when he was poisoned at just 27 years old. And though his death was shocking to many, a lot of people said that it was because the devil was coming to collect on a deal they had made. So the legend goes that after Robert's wife died during childbirth, he went to a crossroads in the area where it was rumored the devil liked to hang out. and there he found a well-dressed man in a suit which he knew was the devil. He got down on his knees and asked the devil to make him the best blues musician in the entire world. He felt that was all he had after his wife died. So the devil took the guitar from Robert, tuned it, and then added another string to it. He handed the guitar back to Robert, basically saying, if you take this guitar, you'll be the best blues musician in the world, but your soul will be mine. But Robert still took the guitar, and the rest was history. 7 years later, at the age of 27 years old, he passed out while playing the guitar on stage. He had been poisoned by a jealous man who knew that Robert was sleeping with his wife. In this week's episode, I get a little bit more into the context of the time and why people really thought that Robert had made the deal with the devil. That and other terrifying stories from the South, so it's worth a listen if you have a chance.